Hey, scholars. I wanted to say thank you so much for seeing this video that I am recording for you. I hope all of you have been having a wonderful day, and I hope that your map testing uh, week has been pretty good. No issues. I know we were having some issues with Zoom a while back. I hope you guys are doing awesome. I miss you all. Um, I am very, I guess, a little bummed, right, that we can't have our live sessions and get to see each other through Zoom and stuff like that. But I'm glad that I'm able to make these little videos and help you through the process that we're going through this week, right? So this video is going to be for Thursday, September 10th, 2020. So our learning target, our objective today, we are going to solve real world and mathematical problems, including the multiplication operation with rational numbers by responding to questions. So this is what we're going to be doing. So agenda, please make sure if you have not, please complete the do now that is in the week 4 Thursday folder, and it is a Kahoot. So please go ahead and make sure you work on that for me, right? So do the Kahoot first. Once we do that, we're going to get into our Go Math book in just a little bit, and we're going to be starting on page 37. After that, I go over some examples. You're going to do your independent practice like we always do. And of course, you're going to end the day with an exit ticket. This one is very important because I use this one for attendance purposes. So please make sure that you turn it in every day. This is something you should be turning in daily, right? This is something that I look for attendance purposes. Okay, guys? So we are going to continue with multiplying rational numbers. So on the last video, we were learning multiplication with some fractions, and we used multiplication with some decimals, with same signs and different signs. All right, we're gonna do the same thing today, except now we might have some real world problems that we're looking at. Okay, so again, we are on day 2 of learning to multiply with rational numbers. Here's our day 2. We are going to, again, solve with real world problems with the multiplication operation with rational numbers. So again, this is just a big fancy word for fractions, right? We could have fractions. For sure, we might have some decimals later on. We can also have integers because those all fall under that category. And of course, whole numbers, right? So when I say rational numbers, I'm really talking about those 4 sets of numbers that we can see in our 7th grade curriculum this year, okay? So let's move on to the next slide. Awesome. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and hopefully you're already in your Go Math book. Again, we are on page 37. I'm always gonna have up here towards the upper right corner the page number that we're gonna be on in Go Math book. So if you ever are not sure, just please always look around that corner. I'll have the page for us, okay? So we are gonna be on example 3. So this one is talking about, well, what happens, right, if we have to multiply more than 2 rational numbers together, okay? So if we look at this example, I have a fraction, right? Another fraction and another fraction. Oh my goodness. So we are going to be multiplying 3 rational numbers together so we can figure out what the product is, okay? So I know it looks really scary, right? Because fractions, most people, like I told us the other day that most people think fractions are pretty scary to work with, right? But you guys are going to be pros at this, and you're going to realize that fractions are not. So like always, I really like the Dorito chip method. Hopefully you all saw the video that I had in the Wednesday folder. If not, you really should go back and view that video that I had on Wednesday, because again, that has a whole bunch of information that we took, some notes for your journal. I think it's probably one of the most important videos you can see, because it was the introduction into our multiplication of rational numbers, okay? So I am going to, so let's start with step one, right? So they're going to basically break it down for you step by step on how to solve this type of problem. So it says, first, find the product of the first two factors. Both factors are negative, so their product will be positive. Okay, so when they say the first two factors, I'm going to kind of keep things color-coded. What they are talking about are those two fractions first. So that means we're going to multiply negative 2/3 times negative 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to go into the black color here. So negative 2/3, and remember, we can see multiplication many ways now. We're really not going to see that x anymore, right? We were talking about that in my last video. So now, remember, when we multiply with fractions, we have to multiply across, right? So that means I'm going to multiply numerator times the numerator, denominator times denominator. So I'm going to go back into that purpley color, and I'm going to take negative 2 times negative 1. So negative 2 times negative 1. And then our denominator, 3 times 2. Perfect. And now we can break it down. Let me put this one as black. Okay, awesome. So now we have negative 2 times negative 1. So remember, if I have a negative times a negative, that means I'm going to have a positive product. And now what is 2 times 1? 2. So that means negative 2 times negative 1 gives us a positive 2, or just 2. And then our denominator is 3 times 2. Both of them are positive, right? Two positives make a positive. So 3 times 2 gives us 6. Okay. And now probably the best thing we can do here is we can leave it like this, or we can simplify, because we should know that any fraction we get, we should always simplify it to its smallest form, just because that's probably going to be the answer choice that we're going to see, whether it's a CBA, DA, or even on your star. So that means I can find a number that these two have in common that I can divide by on the numerator and the denominator, and I can make these numbers just a tiny bit smaller. And hopefully you all realize what that number is, right? Because these are pretty small to know and to be able to tell me what that is. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that means the product of these two factors multiplied together is 1/3. Okay, so now step 2, or step 3 rather, it says to multiply the result, 1/3, which is positive, by the third factor, which is that negative 3/5. So remember, we did these two first. Now I am missing this factor, right? Because we were only doing 2 at a time. So I'm going to take 1/3, and I'll go back in. So this is 1, 2. So I'm going to take 1/3, and I'm going to multiply it by negative 3/5, right? And remember, fractions, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. I'm going to basically rewrite this. So 1 times negative 3, 1 times negative 3. That's my numerator. And then my denominator is 3 times 5, which we all know is 15, right? And now we can simplify this fraction out just a little bit more, and we can do the multiplication. So now we have 1 times negative 3. So a positive times a negative. A positive times a negative means I'm left with a negative answer. So a positive times a negative, what are we left with? A negative answer. So I'm left with, at least I know that's a negative answer, right? Because those two give me a negative answer. Now I'm going to go back and think of the numbers. What is 1 times 3? 3, right? Any number times 1 is itself. And now we are going to have our denominator, which was 3 times 5, which we already did that, which was 15. Awesome. So now we have negative 3 divided by 15. All right, so now what we can do is simplify. This particular fraction can be simplified. So anything I ever give you as a fraction, please always simplify it to its simplest form. Okay, so now step 3, we're going to simplify what our product is. So yes, this is our answer, but we can for sure make this number a lot smaller, right? Because we want it simplified. So that means I have to think of a number that I can divide both of them by to make them smaller. So 2, well, no, because 3 divided by 2 gives us a decimal. That doesn't work. 3, well, that probably could work. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Okay, good. 15 divided by 3, yes, that gives me 5. Awesome. So that means that 3 is a number I'm going to use to simplify -3/15. And now we have our smaller fraction. -3 divided by 3 gives us, let me change it to this green, -1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And that is our answer. So our answer, when we multiplied these 3 fractions and simplified to the simplest form, is -1/5, -1/5, which is what I see they answered for you on example 3 in your Go Math books. All right, awesome. So now I want for you guys to practice as well, just because the more you practice, the better you get at things, right? So I'm going to move on to the next slide, and you're going to work on the your turn. Number 4, number 5, and number 6. So at this time, please pause the video, work out those 3 problems. Once you have your answers simplified, please make sure they're a simplified fraction. We'll come back and we'll look at your answers and we'll see if you answered them correctly. Okay, so once again, work on number 4, 5, and 6 on page 37 in your Go Math book. Pause this video. Once you have answered all 3, please come back and we'll look at them together and you can check your answers, okay? So pause it, come back. All right, scholars, welcome back. Let's go ahead and review the your turn, page 37, number 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to basically do the same thing that they did in example 3, where they found the product of the first 2 factors and then multiplied it with the third one. So for number 4, we have -3/4 times -4/7 times -2/3. Okay, so I'm going to first find the product of those 2 factors. So I'm going to do the work here. I might erase some stuff later on, and then I'll write the answer. Okay, so first, let me go to, I'll leave it red. I guess I want to maybe color code. All right, so open parenthesis, -3/4 times my second fraction, -4/7. Okay, and remember, numerator times that numerator, denominator times that denominator, okay? So now let's work quickly, but then before, I have -3 times -4. Negative times the negative. So negative times a negative, I know that I'm left over. I have a positive product. What is 3 times 4? That gives us 12. Awesome. And now we have positive 4 times +7. That gives us 28. All right. Now I'm going to go in here and I know that this fraction for sure can be simplified. Let's try, I know 2 would work. 4 probably is the best one. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 28 divided by 4 is 7. All right. So that means I can simplify 12 28 to 3 7s. Great. The reason why we simplify is because, it's better to work with smaller numbers than it is larger whole numbers. So that's why I did it. So that means I'm going to go back and I'll use blue. That means I'm going to take the product of the first two factors and I'm going to multiply it by that third factor that was left over. So I'm going to go in here. So this should have been like, I guess, step 1. And then step 2, let me go back to that blue color. Awesome. I'm going to take the product and put it in parentheses, 3/7. And I'm going to multiply it by that third product, -2/3. Awesome. And like we've been saying, right, multiplying fractions, numerator times that numerator, denominator times denominator. And now we have 3 times -2. So if we go back and we look at this guy, let me erase and I'll rewrite it. Remember the little Dorito chip that we learned? So negative, negative, positive. Awesome. So positive times negative, we're left with a negative answer. We're left with a negative answer. And now 3 times 2 gives us 6. 7 times 3 gives us 21. And I know, so if you for sure got to this part, -6/21s, and you are not sure if this could be simplified, the answer is yes. So when I think of simplifying, the numbers I always start with, of course, is 2. I think, and I divide both of these by 2. If that doesn't work, I try 3. If 3 doesn't work, I sometimes then go to 5 or 4, right? It just depends on you. This is where knowing your multiplication really comes in handy, and not being dependent on like a multiplication chart or anything like that. So I would really get comfortable and get ready for, honestly, knowing your multiplications on the top of your head, because that is honestly going to save you so much time, because knowing multiplication, knowing you can do division simply. Okay, so now I know that these two numbers are divisible by 3. And so now -6 divided by 3 gives us -2. 27 divided by 7, sorry, 21 divided by 3 gives me 7. And I can no longer simplify this anymore. This is the smallest that I can do. So this right here is the answer. So -21s is simplified to -2/7. And this right here is the answer. So this is probably the best answer to have. So if you answered -2/7, you're absolutely correct. Okay, awesome. So let me erase this. So -2/7. Awesome. So I'm going to write the answer here for number 5. And now I'm going to rewrite over here the little Dorito chip. Awesome. All right. Now 5, I have -2/3 and -3/4. Let's work it out over here. Remember to do the 2 factors first to find the product. So I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to work them out first. -2/3 times -3/4. -2 times -3. Negative times a negative is positive. 2 times 3 is 6. And then 3 times 4 gives me 12. I can simplify this to 1/2. And now I'm going to take 1/2 and I'm going to multiply by 4/5. So that would be the second step. 1/2, 4/5. And now numerator times numerator. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 5 gives me 10. We can simplify this by dividing by 2. So now 4 divided by 2 is 2. 5 divided by 2 is 5. So that means this is positive 2/5 once we find the product of those 3 numbers. Okay. All right. So let me erase here. I don't want to erase all my answers and the Dorito chip. All right. Number 6. Let me do this one quickly so we can work on the next assignment. So of course, 2 factors, 2/3 times negative 9/10, I'm sorry. 2/3 times negative 9/10. All right, so again, numerator times that numerator, 2 times negative 9. Positive times a negative gives me a negative answer. 2 times 9 is 18. 3 times 10 gives me 30. All right, so this one, I want to simplify it because I don't want to have, see how it's 18 and 30, 5 and 6, those would be really big numbers, and then that's even more difficult to simplify. So it's better to simplify at this point. So let's try something pretty easy. Let's try by 2 and see what happens. Negative 18 divided by 2 would give me negative 9. 30 divided by 2 gives me 15. And I don't know, I can keep going. Let's see. Can divide by 3. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. And then 15 divided by 5 is, sorry, 15 divided by 3 is 5. So then I am left with negative 3/5. And I'm going to multiply that by 5/6. So negative 3/5 multiplied by 5/6. And now remember, numerator times numerator, denominator times the denominator. Negative 3 times 5, negative times a positive gives us a negative answer. And then I'm going to go back and think of just the numbers. 3 times 5 is 15. And then 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, so this is the fraction, of course, but again, we always want to simplify it because we're going to see simplification or simplified fractions on our test. They will probably, I would say 95% of the time, give us the fraction simplified. It will never be something like this. So now I got to go back and think, well, what can I divide by both of them by so I can make it smaller? So again, I always start with the number 2 and then I go to 3, 5, 4. That's just how I do when I do my simplification. So I think of 2, right? Negative 15 divided by 2. Well, that's not possible because 15 is an odd number. So that is not an option. So 2 is not going to work. Let's see 3. Negative 15 divided by 3. Yes, that would work. And then 30 divided by 3. Yep, that one works too. All right, so let's start dividing both the numerator by 3 and the denominator by 3. So then I have negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. 30 divided by 3 is 10. All right, cool. So now we have an even smaller fraction than before. But I realize that both of these numbers are actually divisible by 5, right? Because they're 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever. So that means that I can take that and actually divide by 5 on the numerator and the denominator to simplify that fraction just a tiny bit more. Negative 5 divided by 5 is negative 1. 10 divided by 5 gives me 2. So that means this third problem is simplified down to negative 1/2. All right, so there's our answers for number 4, number 5, number 6 with simplified fractions. I believe all of our fractions had to simplify itself. So yes, please simplify fractions always, because I'm pretty sure most of our problems that we get with answers, the fractions will need to be simplified. All right, so there's the work that I did for all 3 problems. And now it's going to be your turn. All right, so you're going to go into Schoology and you're going to go to week 4, our Thursday folder, and you're going to work on the independent practice that is going to be in that folder. Okay, this is just for you to practice on your own with the the different fractions that we were learning today. Once you do that, of course, you are going to work on your exit ticket. Again, I use this for attendance purposes. So this one is extremely, extremely important because I use it for your attendance that you were present in my class, okay? Whether you were there live or you did the work later on at home with maybe mom or dad to help you, whichever, okay? So let me go into Schoology so you can kind of see where I have that information. All right, so I am in one of our classrooms in Schoology, and I am in the week 4 Thursday folder. And just like I did yesterday, if you don't have our Go Math book, I did paste it in Schoology, so you do have a copy of just the little module that we're using today. Here is your do now. It is going to be a Kahoot game. You are going to be multiplying some fractions. Here is that independent practice that I was talking about. And then, of course, the exit ticket that I use for attendance. So you're going to go into Schoology. Please make sure you have already completed the do now. And then your independent practice, go ahead and submit that to me, turn it in. And of course, end the day or in the class with your exit ticket so I can use it for attendance purposes. Now, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Like I said, I miss you guys. I really wish we were in class and not in this maths testing, but you know, it is what it is. And we'll see each other Monday for sure, because we'll be back to regular schedule. There will be, I believe, a quiz sometime next week, but I'll for sure let you know Monday when that's happening. And please make sure to work on those assignments. I'll see you guys on the next one. And you guys have a wonderful day.